like I was in econ, and some of us were in econ and different things in business, and you never, when you go out and really get into the world and start working, it's about what I would say probably about 75-80% never work in the field that they got their degrees in. They're always doing something else totally different.
I know doctors and like PhDs that are managing restaurants or PhDs managing hotels. A friend of mine, she came from the Philippines, from Thailand, to study I think it was architectural design or something like that, and she's now managing a hotel. So and that's sort of for not just hospitality but other issues as well.
That's true.
You don't know. You could hop into it, and they say your first 2 years is exploration. I believe your first 4 years is exploration. Sometimes after. Until you really find out what you really want to do, because you don't really know unless you're actually doing it.
Right.
And an internship is a wonderful way to find out if this is what you really want to do. So and again, like I said, it's not all about money.
That's
one
true.
thing I remind students too is that you're going to have more than one career in your life. This brother here just spoke and said, I was doing this, now I'm coming back. And I'm sure you've had several careers. So it's not like, whatever you choose, you'll be stuck in it. As long as you keep your options open and have a large network. Like for me, my major was marketing and fashion merchandising.
Wow.
I thought that I was, going to get this big job in New York City, on top of this big building, overseeing, Statue of Liberty, and, be this, huge marketing guru. In my head, I still am, but I actually fell into HR and into human resources, and I fell into that immediately after college, and that's been my career for the past 10 years. However, I've had different aspects in HR, from HR generalist to employee relations, talent acquisition. So I've had my hands in a lot of different things, and then from the marketing perspective, in my role now, I still have to sell and market our organization. I still have to market and sell our organization and figure out what makes us unique and attractive to potential candidates, to potential, to our competitors. How do we stand out? So I always look at what I call a go-forward strategy in terms of, how do we go to market to attract the best talent and to retain them. So I'm always thinking about, marketing. How do we present ourselves as an organization? How do our commercials, what do they speak to the average consumer? Everything that we have on print, I'm always looking at those things because that's what I use to market our organization.
And that's a beautiful thing about hospitality.
Right.
Hospitality is an industry that, what makes it unique is that pretty much anything that you study outside of hospitality can positively affect hospitality. Whether it's design, whether it's marketing, whether it's IT, whether it's some form of engineering, it all coincides in hospitality because you need all those necessary skills. And when you're going to a manager training program in hospitality, you learn. You have to, you learn all those necessary skills. So to have that under your belt is excellent.
And then what a better industry to work in. Everyone can relate to someone that works in hospitality. You always want to have friends in hotels. You always want to have friends.
I know that's right.
You always want to have friends in nightclubs. Those are all things that you can touch on and go to. So I think the benefit for us, working in our industry is that we have so many friends and peers doing what we do. So it's easy for me to call, my friend that works for the competitor and say, hey, I'm coming by, and they take care of you, or they come by to our concepts and we take care of them too as well. So no better industry than to work in where actually people can touch it and they feel it and they completely understand it. We tell people, hey, we work in the restaurants, the ones in the airports with the iPads. Oh, they may not have heard the name, but it resonates because they passed through that terminal. They're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I ate there before. So that's good.
After Professor Black told me you guys were coming, I was coming back from L.A., and I think it was Philly, or I had a layover. Where did I have a layover? Somewhere in the Midwest. And Chicago. Yeah. And you all had a restaurant in there. And I'm like, And it made me look. And I said, oh, these are people. I didn't eat. I'm old-fashioned, Put it in the bag that you carry on. Hey, come on. It's too expensive. I'm here. This is ministry. Didn't I tell you that?
Yes, you did.
This ministry. So but it looked good, and the restaurant was full, people were eating and smiling, so I guess y'all doing a good job. I'll eat in Philly. You have one here, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll.
We actually have
Only at the
10,
airport?
we have 10
Sorry?
units.
Are your locations only?
Oh, okay.
Only in airports, yeah. And I'll get into the company in a little bit. Yeah, we have about 10 units. We actually just opened a 10th one in Philadelphia Airport. So what you got to go, to give a, if you want to see a unit that's the future of OTG, you go to Sky Asian Bistro in Philadelphia Airport.
Say what? Say it again.
It's called Sky Asian Bistro. And the design of the airport, design of the restaurant, everything. Revive is another location that will, these are the new OTG units. And now we're really like the design that goes into our, we have a director of Aura now that is specifically their person.
Director of Aura.
We have director style positions that specifically are there to attack one, like we have a director of coffee. So, and when and it seems kind of interesting, even when we hear of it, we're like, wow, that's, but to be able to have a person that's specifically in charge of coffee, you have the best coffee in the world. Right. And you have national programs of coffee, so you can get high quality coffee for the cost of Folgers. You know what I mean? So that's what having a director of Aura. So this person is all he does is focus on the ambiance and the design of restaurants and markets. So having that position is incredible. So if you have an idea, if you get ready to open up a unit, this person comes and makes sure that the focus is there. The problem with a lot of companies is they become oversaturated and they become too conglomerate, and there's so many units with minimal corporate people that are focusing on individualized duties that they become too big for themselves, and they can't focus on the details like design, like cleanliness, like
I stopped in Chick-fil-A the other day around the corner from me. Their lemonade is cracked. Lemonade. It's addictive.
So is a milkshake.
I hated their lemonade the other day. And I'm writing to a classmate who owns 3 Chick-fil-A's down south to tell somebody up here, stop watering down my crack. It wasn't sweet. It was more tangy than sweet. It's supposed to be sweet. It's supposed to be sweet and tangy.
He said stop watering down my crack.
Yes. It was like, okay, y'all gotta stop playing.
But I mean, those are things that we talk about in classes, because those are the things that, as a manager, that you home in on. When it's about consistency. Well, because when that food come out that window, you have to look at the presentation, because the presentation is everything.
Everything.
Like you gotta roll the bag up, don't give it to them open, because if you put it in the seat and then you stop that break on food, it's not really your fault. It's the company's fault for not rolling it. It happened to me the other day. I was really upset. I was really upset.
Some of you guys are all you guys focus on hotels or any food and beverage?
I'm looking to get an internship this summer in food and beverage. With like through hotel operations.
Okay.
I would like to get the hotel experience, but I'm more into more sales and marketing right now.
Okay.
But some of our students
I
are
would say food and beverage
interested in a lot of our food and beverage also. The food and
Yeah,
beverage side.
I mean, hospitality is hospitality. I mean, that's, I think learning the room aspect of it is awesome. Learning the food and beverage aspect is awesome, but it all comes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And both of them are transferable. That you could have a phenomenal food and beverage career, and kind of want to step outside of food and beverage and hop into hotels, and that experience level that you have will assist you in your learning curve that comes with the rooms as well.
And the only thing, I would say keep in mind, with the hospitality career, when you're working in operations, I'm sure you guys have already observed, is that, one, you're going to make great money. I think a lot of people kind of miss that, thinking, oh, I don't want to be a restaurant manager, I don't want to be a GM, they don't even think that you could be an area director, be basically a multi-unit operator, make 6 figures. There's a lot of money to be made. However, there's a lot of work to do.
Right.
Also, operations is one industry where you are going to work your behind off. It's not an 8 to 5, it's not a 9 to 5 job. You don't get to clock in and clock out. Once you get to a certain level, you're basically always on call, because these are your restaurants these are your operations, your sales, your numbers, your guests.
Your business, your budgets.
It's your business. So, I would say, think of quality of life too as well. That's important to you. So not just the money, not just the career, but if quality of life is important to you, that's something to really, can take into consideration. Most operators, I would say, work about 60, 65 hours a week.
And
sometimes
hours
70.
increase the higher position.
Right.
Exactly. And for me, I'm fortunate that I work in the hospitality industry, but I'm on the corporate support side. So fortunately for me, I get to have, a more traditional lifestyle now.
Right.
With this level of responsibilities I do have now, I don't have an 8 to 5. Like yesterday, I think my work day was how long?
No.
Yesterday I had I think a 19-hour work day. That includes the travel. And that's not
Right.
all the time, but that's part of the territory too.
Right.
When you're traveling, when you have to go to meetings, and then you still have your office work to do as well. So, for me, I'm blessed and fortunate that, when I am in the city and I am working, I get to have a little bit more balance. But, unfortunately for guys like him who are in operations, they love what they do, but they are working a lot of hours.
And that's why the love for it is
That's
very
true,
important.
and
I couldn't
cannot-
do what he does. I couldn't do
I
it.
can identify with that because when I was a general manager and area manager, oh my God, I was doing, it wasn't no such thing as 8 to 5 or whatever. I was doing 18, 19 hours because I was
Holidays,
constantly, every holiday I was there, and I might be at work and then leave and then come back again.
Yeah, it's
Same.
intense. It's intense. And again, it goes into the love of the position. I love what I do, and but yeah, I mean, when the higher you go, the higher your level of responsibility goes. With great strength, what the Spider-Man said, great strength comes with great responsibility.
Yeah.
True fact. As a director, you're in charge of everything that goes on in your region, even if you have general managers that work in these locations.
Right.
They're obviously, they have their individual responsibilities, but you are responsible for the budget, creating the budget, making sure the budget's adhered to, making sure that sales is, making sure that we're not relying on walk-in business, we're actually going to get that business, all the way down to the way the server speaks to the table, all the way
Local
down to
store
the
marketing.
speck of dust that's by the bar that needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
And, I don't care if you have 120 units or 4 units, you're responsible for everything that goes on in every one of those units. And, only Jesus is omnipresent. I'm not omnipresent, but you have to be omnipresent. You have to find a way to be in every single unit at the same time. And that means you have to travel, that means you have to us is fortunate because we have all of our restaurants are in the airport. So, Dulles Airport or Reagan National, these are the airports that, but nonetheless, you gotta, and the way you are able to be everywhere at once is by creating systems
Right.
and managing your people to the point where they're doing things the way it needs to be done, whether you're there or not. So
Right.
then now you have a piece of you in every one of those units because now you've created a system, you've created a standard. And now all you have to do is hold that standard accountable and stay on top of that standard. Now, the things that you've implemented is going, and it's tough, it's challenging.
What does? Nope, you go.
And then when I think about, to his point in terms of your career, the challenges, for us when we're building our teams, as managers, as people managers, we have to be able to motivate and inspire our people that they want to do a good job for us. That's extremely critical. So as you're looking at your career and where you want to go, look at companies that inspire you. Look at companies that have similar beliefs as you. That's extremely important. And then, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. And look at the person that you're going to be reporting to. Because even if it, the reason why I stayed in HR, this was not my ideal career when I first started, but the reason why I stayed in it is because I had amazing bosses that wanted to that motivated me, that wanted to develop me, that wanted to, encourage me to grow and take me to the next level. So when you have someone like that, that's encouraging, that's, your support system, you're going to want to work hard for them. And that's why, I credit my success to them. So always look at that too. So it may not be your ideal, what you really want to do, but if you have someone great behind you, you most likely will stick it through. What'd you say?
I said I was one of the best quotes I think I've heard in this one-on-one sit down we're having.
Which one?
People don't leave jobs, they leave managers, and I think that's that really resonated with me what you were saying because
last year, I'm a resident advisor on campus. So last year, I was in a different dormitory with a different assistant director, and I really wanted to quit. I felt like I didn't have the staff support. Being a new RA, I felt like I was basically thrown to the wolves, and then this was the first time the buildings were ever co-ed, and then this was all freshman co-ed dorm, and they had never lived like that before, and they got over there, and it was just chaos. I'm like, yeah, this is my last semester. I don't really know about y'all, but she's not here. She's late. Her paperwork is going in late, so in turn, from the main director, it's causing, you're only as strong as your leader.
Absolutely.
So it's causing the rest of us to look bad, and I'm like, if I can't get traded to a different building, like I no longer want to be on the staff. And knowing your own personal wealth and knowing that you are an asset, people will work to make sure that you don't leave the overall corporation, I guess, of residents' life. So since I've been switched and I do work for a different director now, like I really don't mind my job. Like I genuinely like it. If I have a problem with one of my residents, I know that I can call any of my, because I have 2 directors now, I know that I can call either of my directors, and they'll come upstairs 2, 3 in the morning and check on what's going on. If there are students that are locked out or we're waiting for an incidental public safety, like they are there, they are being that liaison between us and other campus needs that we will need provided, like as far as student activities are concerned. So like you saying that really just wow.
It was like
it was
ding, ding,
yeah,
ding.
it was a confirmation to what
Yeah.
I had already been feeling, but I just didn't put in the right words. So thank you for that.
Of course. And then, and a leader is only as strong as their followers, too. I can't do my job well without a strong team. I have to be able, like I was telling my team, when I was managing before, that my approach is very collaborative. So, I may have a bigger, longer title. That's just on paper, that's it. But when it comes to getting the work done, one, it falls on me. So I can't say, hey, this direct report didn't get this done, this direct report didn't get that done. I have to look at my team as a collaborative, collective unit and say, how are we going to get this thing done? And make sure, one, they understand that I see them as an asset, that they're adding value to the team, and then also taking all their contributions, any input they have, taken that into strong consideration, and not just me being the leader, but allowing them to lead in some areas too as well. So being able to develop them and give them some leadership competencies is very important. So always look at that too, not just, is this a job, but where is this job going to take me to? So even whenever I'm in a role, I'm always shopping for the next role. Never get so comfortable in a role that you're like, oh, they like me here, I love it here so much. You should always be networking and positioning yourself for the next level up. So in my mind, I always have a 2-3 year plan ahead, a goal for strategy, a personal one, in terms of, okay, I'm here now, where do I want to be in 2015, and how is this current role going to get me there? If it's not going to get me there, then this may not be the ideal role, or this may not make sense for me right now.
It's funny, we continued was talking yesterday about the fashion industry, and we were talking about how, on the surface level, you don't really see what goes into a design coming out. You just see Tommy Hilfiger, the design comes out. P. Diddy, the design comes out. But, these people have, tons of people on their team that develop these things. And these people come up with an initial idea, and their team runs with it, and their team create a product, and then Sean John puts it out. So it's very true that you are as strong as your team is.
There's a lot of behind the scenes work.
Absolutely, in all industries. And and another thing is, on the motivational aspect, Tina made a very good point. When it comes to management, not only the motivational piece, but you have to find the balance and know how to bring the best out of somebody, even if you have to discipline a situation, but still enable these people that work for you to be excited to work for you, to be happy to work for you, and being consistent with that. If your role is, if your personality is to kind of make these people, make the people that work for you feel like you're the same, then stick to that. Don't switch up and try to be something else, because the inconsistency will make people nervous for working for you. They don't know what to expect. You lose a little bit of respect. But you have to find a balance in knowing how to discipline, how to bring the skills out that you are looking for, and to make people feel excited to work for you every single day.
Given,
And I mean, that, I'm sorry.
Nope.
But that falls under the, and I tell my students all the time, is a book called The 1 Minute Manager. And remember, I've talked to you guys about that all the time in class, and I was a big opponent of that because I always was taught that if you're going to discipline someone, if you're going to talk to them about something they did wrong, before you're leaving them, tell them something they did right.
Absolutely.
So, they're not with their head all
Yeah,
down,
that
oh,
makes
wow,
sense.
man, I can't do nothing wrong, nothing right. So it's always, as a leader, you have to have passion for what you do, but it's also about developing your people, making sure that your people are developed.
Exactly.
Because just like you said, they are your followers, and they're going to help you get to where you need to be
And
at.
it's motivation on top
Right.
of that.
And your people are going to make mistakes as you made mistakes
Yep.
in the industry. And the worst thing to do is put yourself in a position to look like you're holding a grudge.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Discipline the situation, bring up the person, and then laugh and joke with the person. Like, hey, let's go. And get back to your day. Let the person, hey, I love you. You're doing a great job, but hey, this needs to change.
Right. And it's so funny that you said, because a lot of times I used to tell my managers, I said, you guys say one thing, but then you do another. And I said, employees see that. I said, employees are watching that. And then I would say, why is it that I can come in, I can call someone, I can pick up the phone and call people, and boom, they're there, You guys call them and they won't answer their phone, or either they're oh, I can't make it. So you have to make that connection with your employees also.
given that, how do we, I'm the internship coordinator, so I got to think about internships, but I'm the Cheyney grad, so I got to think about my future alumni members. How do they prepare? What do they need to do to be ready for you when you come looking for talent? And for you, when you come looking, well, right, when the talent gets there, thank you. I was trying to figure out how to word that. When the talent gets there, so that they do well, so that they are motivated, so that they can start their career. I mean, everybody here is looking to get started, and one's graduating, two graduating. So they really are interested in getting started. What do they need to do? Say if they were interested in OTG, what are they?
The first thing I would say is attitude is everything. Attitude. We can find plenty of operators, plenty of servers anywhere. I can go off the street and find one right now. But it's always about attitude. That's the first thing I look at, and cultural fit. Every organization has a culture. Cheyney has a culture, right? So it's all about being able to blend into that culture and it being, and accepting that culture for what it is. So it's about your attitude and what you bring into the organization. That's the first thing. We're all disposable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No job is guaranteed. So it's all about, having a positive attitude. That's the first thing an employer looks at. When I interview people, or immediately, when I meet someone, that's the first thing I analyze. What's their attitude, and how are they going to interact with not just their peers in the organization, but at different levels throughout the organization, and then not just how are they going to serve and present to customers, but how are they going to carry themselves outside, in terms of, how they represent the OTG brand.
Mhm.
That's very, very important too. And then looking at the different relationships that you have with people, it's always important to maintain very positive relationships, with your professors, with your internship coordinator, because these are all people that you're going to need, a year or two from now, 10 years from now. I mean, I still go back to some of my professors from college and still call on them. I need this. Can you help me with that? When they tell you that, please believe. In 5 years, you will be calling them. You think when you graduate from college, it's over and it's done with? No way. No way. And then just going back to, in terms of, what we look for. In entry level, I would say someone that just has definitely a passion for wanting to learn, a passion for themselves in terms of development. I wouldn't necessarily say a passion for the industry or passion for the job, because when you're young, when you're 21, 22 years old, you're still trying to figure out life. So I think for me as an employer, someone that's hiring, it's unfair for me to evaluate someone on whether they're going to love this industry. Sometimes you're just getting, like to his point, you're trying to figure it out. And that's very much okay. But if you're serious and focused, then that's, an attribute that I can work with.
Yeah, I mean, that's, she nailed it on the head. I think that, on the operational side, what we look for is honesty, for one. You know, I could absolutely tell when somebody's blowing smoke immediately, because, you know, I was there, I was in that seat, and I,
Right.
you know, I had to learn that it's not about you trying to give me the best answers possible. I know that you're just starting in the industry. I don't expect you to be at a general manager level. You're just
Right.
starting. And some people come in, they try to they try to, you know, show just all the just big, massive resume and all this stuff. But how is this even possible when you just graduated? Like,
Right.
how is all this possible? And I'd rather somebody come in and say, hey, you know, just be honest, hey, don't have a ton of experience, but, you know, I'm really serious about this. I'm passionate about it. Passion is the biggest thing, even after the interview process. When you're sitting down, the initial interview happened, you know, the love. The love for what you do, whatever that
Right.
is, and passion and drive. You know, the sense of self-motivation. You know, somebody that can come in and is motivated by self. I think that it's important to have a motivating factor in the management team. Somebody that, you know, managers that help motivate you and provide that path for you. But it's also important to be self-motivated. You know, I'm a strong believer in providing the fishing pole rather than the fish. So, you know, I want somebody that can grab that fishing pole and fly fish and go
That's right.
Go get that trout and that catfish. So, and that's what will get me in the door. And, you know, with OTG, it's a little different because we do have those entry-level positions. You know, half the management team in all of our airports are entry-level supervisors. And, you know, and, you know, we do hire salary managers as well, but, you know, half the people that come in the door, they come in as an entry-level shift supervisor role, and they kind of grow and work their way into a management role.
So that's graduate from college or?
You know, it's funny. It's a little bit different. You know, this is because of NSFMH and what we did with them. We're kind of stepping into a new path, possibly, with actually, you know, going into campuses and checking the town and stuff like that. But theoretically before, it's just been, you know, bringing some people in from the outside, having a little mixture of some outside talent as well as assessing the supervisors inside the airports and kind of bring people in. We haven't really brought a lot of people in, talent from colleges, and I think that's an untapped resource that we haven't tapped into for good talent that loves what they do. Because, you know, usually what we do as directors is we just go out and scout.
Well, by all means, please tap in right here. We love for you to.
But I think the biggest thing is continue to set it best is you have to know, especially in food and beverage, and hotels too. You know, I got a lot of friends in the hotel industry, and it's work. It's work. It's a lot of responsibility. And hotels is even more responsibility on a entry-level basis. As far as restaurants, you could be an assistant manager and have almost no responsibility. Maybe you do a schedule and you're responsible for your shift. You go home. Yeah, I know a guy that's 50 years old. He's been an assistant manager his whole life. He makes $55,000 a year, and he doesn't want any more responsibility. He can get by. He's a good manager. He runs a tight shift, but he wants no more responsibility. As far as hotels, you may be responsible for a certain section, and whether you're here or not, this is what you're responsible for.
Right.
Maybe it's bed and breakfast. Maybe you're responsible for the rooms on this level. Maybe, but either way, whether you're there or not, you have your staff.
That's true.
That's on an entry-level basis. So, you know, you could have a 9-to-5 shift, but if you're responsible for something full-time, then you're working full-time.
Yeah.
So that's just something to look into. You know, some of the challenges that I have with hiring people is, especially independent, like leaders, management leaders, is, you know, when they go home, they clock out. But that's what you don't.
Yeah,
You know, you got to, you know,
24/7.
exactly. If something happens,
365 days a year.
Absolutely. You know, if something happens in your unit, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning, when it's supposed to be the airports, we start at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. You get up and you got to go. You know, if something happens with one of my managers at one of my units quits, that means I'm the manager of that unit that day. I don't care if I'm in Philly. I'd be like, hey, Cheyney, I gotta head out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I mean, that's just something to keep in mind with that. And you know, to the other point we were talking about earlier, you know, we're talking about the reason why restaurants fail. You know, we're talking about humans, people. You know, when you don't leave a job, you leave the management. You know, restaurants fail for the same reasons, not because it's not a great concept. You know, I'm be honest with you, most people come up with ideas. 79% of people come up with good ideas. Good ideas, if marketed correctly, if you have good people. The disconnect is hiring people, human humans is what makes things fail sometimes, and humans make proper planning. Humans rush things too much at times. Humans make bad decisions about locations, and there is companies that come out with one location and do well, come out with another location and do well, and come out many locations and do well. Cracker Barrel is a company that does
Right.
it. They have 500 locations, and they're trying to open another 500 in 5 years.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's because they're doing it the right way. They're not rushing. They're strategically picking their locations. As they build more location, they build their corporate office, and they put people in place to help manage those systems so it doesn't become too big, and there's not enough people to manage consistency. And there's some companies that just don't do that. They come out with 5 locations, they start making money, and then things start to sink. There was a place in D.C. called Station 9.
Oh, I know that place.
Yeah, Station 9. It was a little nightclub in D.C. It was really big. The building looked like a bank. It was huge, beautiful, super elegant. And they didn't last 6 months. And they had a great menu. It was a great nightlife, but the people was horrible.
Okay.
When you walk in, the bouncers treat you like you're trash. They treat you like you're in line to go to the correctional facility. Like, you're like, am I going to jail or am I trying to party? And like I said, people, human interaction is what makes a difference, and that is the definition of hospitality.
And it's so important that you said that, because the CEO of Starbucks said, and I think about it all the time, he said, we're not in the coffee business, we're in the people business.
Absolutely.
And that's the one thing you have to think about when you're in hospitality, you're in people's business.
And one thing to add to your point is also, when you're going to these companies, with your resume, looking for an internship, looking for that first job, also have a very humble approach and demeanor. It's extremely important. No matter what school, no matter what degree you have, no matter how many fabulous experiences and letters of recommendation that you've had, I'm seeing 10, 20 of you, and I only have one job. When I post a position on Career Builder or LinkedIn or Monster, I get 100 responses in one day. And that's just for one position, right? So always keep that in mind. And 2, just have realistic expectations. That's extremely important too. So not walk in saying, hey, I've been in college 4 years and I got this much debt and I need to make this much money. Eventually you will get there. I know for me when I first graduated, I told you what my dream was, and it was just a blow. My first job, I was making $27,000 a year. That was my first job out of college. And I was like, wow, this is what being an adult's all about? It was such a harsh reality check. But, I seized that opportunity and saw, okay, let me take this, let me run with it, and eventually it'll get me to where I want to be. And, one, I was being humble, which, I really wasn't used to. But so it brought me back down to earth. And 2, it helped me level set my expectations too as well. And, I always believe in those race to believe I'm the best, no one can do it better than me. And that's always my approach. Not that I project that, to people, but in my mind, it's that having a level of confidence and saying, okay, you know what, you want me to, cut up these potatoes into, this many inches, well, I'm going to be the best potato cutter ever. No one's going to cut potatoes better than me, right?
You really have to have that.
And you have to have that no matter what you're given to do. Oh, you want me to shred this paper all day? I would be the best paper shredder, which I can shred by hand. You don't need this machine anymore. So I'm trying to find ways to be innovative and creative in whatever position you're given, and not saying, oh my goodness, I'm sitting here at my desk and, have to put in these invoices and just figuring out, okay, what's the best way to do it? Is there a different way to do it? And just finding ways to add a little value here and there is very important.
And that's where that passion comes in.
Right.
She's talking about the best paper cutter in the world. That's the passion. The passion is what gets you through those hard times of, I'm behind a desk all day. It's that passion. I love what I do. I'm going to get through this every day. I started off washing dishes at 14. In Brooklyn, New York, at an Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, and I told myself, like, I'm going to be in, and then I didn't know I wanted to be in restaurants. My whole philosophy of restaurants was in the dish room, so I thought, this is it. This is hospitality. I'm not doing this. But nonetheless, I same thing. I wanted to be. I was going to be the best dishwasher in there, so I was whipping out dishes. I was a beast at a dishwasher. So the point is the same thing. Trying to put yourself in a position to be the best that you could be, and naturally you'll progress. You will not, I don't care where you're at, what company, you will naturally progress if you're good. And you learn to be good by paying attention, by working hard, by retaining information. Obviously, you're all getting degrees, so there's an intellectual level within you, so you're able to retain information. It's proven.
Quick question: how many of you ladies have mentors? Good. And that's one thing that's very critical. I would say has been very instrumental in my success is making sure you have mentors, not just align with your career goals, but outside your industry too as well. People that you can lean on. Look at mentors, who have a proven success record, track record, and whatever they're doing. That you can lean on and ask questions to that can guide you. They have a network. Most of my jobs, I haven't applied for a job in ever, I think. It's been through networks. Every job I've had, my first job out of college, and I worked for a staffing agency. And the reason why they hired me, that staffing agency, is because I was one of their employees. So every summer, every spring break, when I would go home, I'd say, hey, you'll be file papers, send me an assignment somewhere. So when I graduated, they're like, hey, do you want to be a staffing specialist and actually place people in jobs? And I was like, you want me to do that? They're like, yeah. They're like, you've been here with us for 4 years. You always come. You're loyal. You're dedicated. Absolutely. My second job after that was the same way. Someone said, hey, I heard about you. Do you want this job? And even this job right now, I was recruited out of my big company I was with for 6 or 7 years. And when they called me, they're like, hey, we heard about you. And before they even talked to me, they had already talked to other people in the industry that knew me and had worked with me on a professional level. They checked me out before I even knew they were looking at me. Mm-hmm. So by the time I interviewed, it's all about having integrity and how you carry yourself and being professional all times. I didn't know, so when I came to the interview, I had my references. Do you want your references? They're like, no, we already checked you out 4 weeks ago. We know all about you. I was like, really? They're like, we know the good. We know the areas of opportunity.